Hello, Wasteland Armor here today. We're going to be reviewing one of my favorite rifles, the Mannlicher M1895 30 Stützen. So this is an update on the original Mannlicher 1895. It's a unique straight pull rifle, and what the 30 means is that they cut the barrel down so that it is a relatively short carbine now. And also, very importantly, they rechambered it to the 8x56 Mannlicher. As you can see, it has that nice long shoulder there. So the original cartridge was the 8x50R. The overall cartridge length was about the same, but the casing was quite a bit shorter. And the 8x50R is actually the parent case for the Mosin Nagant 762x54R. So just kind of imagine a round that looks like that. So today we're just going to be talking about kind of how it is to shoot this thing, what it might be good for, what its strengths are, weaknesses. So kind of to start out with, the thing most people think about is that nice straight pull action on these. This might be a little hard to do one-handed, but yeah, it's going to be a little stiff there. Doesn't look so easy when you do it like this. Go ahead and cock that. So you can see it just comes straight open, and then no need to lift the bolt. And to close, you just push it straight shut. Now something with that I should mention is this gun was meant to be run from the shoulder. So if you have one of these, you'll find they feel stiff, and then if you drop it down to your hip to work the bolt, it's going to feel really, really stiff. And then trying to do it like that, obviously it is really, really, really stiff. But they're very, very quick from the shoulder. Now, personally, I actually prefer the straight pull action. Some people find it kind of weird. I find that it really does cut down on the amount of motions needed to work the action, just a little bit less to think about. I think it's a little harder to short stroke it. So as far as the action goes, I like it. On the 1895, of course, they load from these kind of unique 5-shot end block clips, a little bit like an M1 Grand. And when you chamber the last round, there's just a little hole on the bottom here. Clip just falls free. So one of the critiques on these is that these are not bidirectional. You have to load it in through the top. As opposed, if you try to go in backwards, that doesn't work too well. Personally, I have not found that to be a problem. I kind of think that it's basic enough on feel. It's kind of like if someone tried to load an AR or AK mag in upside down. No one really ever critiques that you can't load them either way, but they do critique these, but I think they're great. And the other kind of nice thing about them is, unlike a Carcano clip, I have never had one of these that did not work right. Where with Carcanos, I don't know if I ever had one that did work right. So I just think it might be a little stronger design overall. So other features on the gun, just very, very short, light, probably the lightest centerfire rifle I've ever owned. Easy to handle. I think it'd make a great little brush woods gun. The cartridge is Ballistics, pretty impressive. It's a 208 grain bullet at 2,300 feet per second, and that is coming out of only a 19-inch barrel. I looked up 30-06 velocities with that bullet weight out of a 19-inch barrel, and guys, this thing is actually more powerful than 06. One of the complaints often with it is that it recoils too hard. I personally didn't find the recoil to be that bad, but you notice it going off. So I guess that just depends a little bit on your recoil tolerance, but you know it's there. So probably my biggest critique of this gun are the sights. So they are a barleycorn front post and a very tiny notch rear. Now, when they're flipped down like this is actually for 500 Schritt is the measurement that they used. It's a pace. Does not correlate to a yard or a meter. It's about, I think, about 3/4. But you're not going to shoot it like this because at 500, that's probably about a 400 yard zero. You're going to be flipping it up. There's a 300 Schritt marking on the back, and that's about a 232 yard zero. It shoots pretty close to impact point of aim with that, but it is still a little high, but it's usable like that. What is less usable is just the fact that this sight is tiny. It is hard to pick up fast, and just reacquiring target quickly is hard. With that barleycorn, it's hard to get a tight bead on a target. And personally, I think that this is the gun's biggest limiting factor right here is these set of sights. If it had something like what's on an 03A3, an aperture rear, or even a good rear sight, front sight like on a Swiss straight pull, I think these things would be absolutely evil. But as it is, that really does hold them back. So I did actually run a mad minute with this gun, was able to get 16 rounds off in a minute. We'll show a clip of that here in just a second, but you'll see just how fast that action is. The loading is super easy. The one thing that really did slow me down was those sights, and also it does hurt the accuracy. I got 9 out of 16 rounds on target. So we'll go ahead and move over to that clip and show you that. 3, 2, 1, go.
Time's up.
14 rounds.
Nice.
That thing sights hard fast. So now that you've seen that, just some other comments on this. So I actually had a chance to do a run and gun with this. That being said, the run and gun did not go so well. The cartridge power kind of caused issues. So the steel target we did hit with an AK, and it did just fine. When we hit it with this, the target was going flying, so we kept having to reshoot the scenes. And what ultimately kind of happened was, by the time we got an even remotely complete clip for that film, it was getting dark, which again showed the weakness of this gun. In that final clip of that run and gun, my accuracy has just gone to pot. It was actually better a little bit earlier in the day, but I could not see those sights, guys. At the 100-yard mark, too, on the last two shots where you hear no hit on the steel, well, that's because the target had gone flying again, and I didn't even realize it. But, yeah, poor accuracy at 100 in that run and gun. Primarily, it's hard to tell in the video, but I just could not see those sights in that light. So that is definitely something to consider if you want to use one of these guns for anything practical. That being said, they are extremely light and handy to use. Very powerful. I think they'd be a great close-range hunting gun. The accuracy on this one is okay, but the barrel is a bit pitted. Looks like it's had corrosive ammo through it and wasn't cleaned properly. No rust now, but looks like it did at some point. So that probably didn't help anything with that. But I'd say accuracy is still adequate on it. But we'll go ahead and show you that clip of that run and gun just so you can kind of see how it handles. Again, and also demonstrates that clip loading, which really is quite nice. good. So as you can see from that run, again, smooth action, easy loading. Accuracy was meh, but largely I was getting fatigued, and then just the sights were hard to see in that light. But I really liked it. I ran that type of course before with a Mosin, and that was not fun. Tons of malfunctions, slow. The Mosin was a little more accurate. It was a Finnish Mosin, so the sights were amazing, but I actually really do prefer this over a Mosin Nagant for most applications. One other kind of cool thing about these, if you ever wonder, they can fire 7.62 by 54R. Now this is a steel-cased round. I don't recommend firing one of these steel-cased rounds. There's a good chance you'll split the case. Probably won't have anything catastrophic happen, but you'll get hot gas in the face and it'll wake you up. So you can fire form brass with brass case ammo. That being said, I don't really know why you're going to want to do it on this caliber, since PPU still makes the ammo in brass. So honestly, that's probably the better way to go with this round, but if you feel inclined to do so, then you can definitely do it, and we'll show you a clip of that here. Here's our 7.62 by 54R. 8 by 50R has just a slightly longer shoulder to it, not much. That's our 8 by 56. So the headspace on these two cartridges should be almost identical with their rims. However, the shoulder, as you can see, is pretty substantially different. Now, there shouldn't be any overpressure with this because this is a narrower bullet going down a wider bore. I wouldn't also expect much of a group, but we'll go ahead and try shooting at 25 yards. We're going to try 3 rounds, see if it blows up. Obviously, it doesn't feed the best. I'll get my hand away from that. Appears to have fired. No cracks. Looks like maybe just a hair of blowback. Now I'm just going to say that's definitely harder extraction. I don't know if I'd make a super big habit of doing that, but as you can see, there's our fire form casing. There's 8 by 56. And there is our 7.62. And I'm seeing a little bit of bulge to that. So I don't know if I'd make a habit of that again, but it can be done. I think with a lighter charge, it might even be a good way of making brass for them. So let's go see if we hit anything. Kind of as would be expected. No holes. Those bullets are probably tumbling down range as they go. So just after showing that, now it begs the question, what is the philosophy of use on a little carbine like this? What would it be good for? Well, obviously first thing is they're really cool collectors and historical pieces. These updated ones were used in World War II. This one is a Bulgarian gun, and they actually were even used into the Cold War afterwards. But just fun, mechanically very interesting guns. As far as practical use, I think it'd be a good close-range hunting gun. This one, with its accuracy, I'd probably say stick within 200 yards. It just is really losing it past that. Probably largely limited by the sights and by an imperfect bore, but That being said, I think up close that the power of that round really would be devastating and be quite effective for that. Other uses, if you're looking at something like an SHTF type situation, I could actually think of a use for this. Kind of think of it along the lines of how you'd use an M1 carbine more than a full power battle rifle normally, but perhaps in an area where things like large game would be a concern. Again, short range, but it is very quick. They actually are quite durable guns. Just don't single load them. The extractors like to break. Use clips. But as long as you do that, there was actually a test where they fired, I believe, 50,000 rounds without lubricant on one of these, and the gun had no parts breakages. Reliability wise, the mechanism seems like it could give you some issues, but they seem to do all right in the trenches for the most part of World War One, which is pretty gnarly stuff. The Swiss straight pull I had did quite well in the mud. I have not mud tested this, and I'm not sure if I want to with the way its mechanism works, but perhaps we'll do that in the future. But I think you could probably use it. It's getting up a little bit long in the tooth for that type of application, but I think it would still have, potentially could have a place if this is what you have handy or if it's just what you shoot well. Of course, ammunition is going to be hard to stockpile. The cartridge is made by PPU. This is PPU soft point right here, so it is still available. Not horrendously expensive when you can find it, which is not all the time. So if you have one and want to shoot it and can handle the recoil, stocking up on ammo when it's available might not be a bad idea. Other philosophies of use, I don't think I'd recommend it as my first choice of a vintage match gun, just because they're just not the most accurate things out there. I'd like to try out grouping one of the original long rifles and just see if it might do better, especially if you could find one with a good bore. But, I mean, if you want to shoot it in a match, definitely go for it. It could be fun. You'd definitely be the loudest one there, which definitely would be a fun thing to do. But other applications, just, again, historical collecting and shooting. They could be a fun reenactment piece. Again, the Volkstrom also used these guns, so they were kind of all over the place. But just a cool piece of history, a good shooter. Action is just unique, slick, fast. Horrible sights, though. But I'd say that probably sums up my opinion on the M95 Mannlicher. If you have any opinions of your own, please feel free to comment in the comment section. If you like this type of content, then like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.